Enemies within yourself. Here's the first one: indifference. Whatever you do, practice not being casual. You've got to shake off sometimes the lethargy that would say, oh, well, maybe it's not going to work for me, or I'll just go along and see what happens. I'm asking you, whatever you do, the intensity that you've gathered up here during this extravaganza, I want you to take this same intensity home with you. Don't be casual. Casualness creates casualties. Go home with a renewed intensity. Don't let indifference take over. Here's the next one: indecision. Someone's mentioned it a couple of times on this stage. They've had to deal with it. You've got to deal with it. Indecision is called the thief of opportunity. Make decisions even if it's a wrong decision. Do the very best you can, make a decision and go with it. If it doesn't work out because it was a wrong decision, I'm telling you, that gives you experience now to make a better decision. Here's the next one: doubt. We've all got to deal with the enemy of doubt. Cynicism has a unique way of crowding in on all of us. Being cynical about the government, being cynical about banks and money, being cynical about society, being cynical about the past, cynical about the future. I'm asking you, don't let that disease grab you by the throat. Yes, it's easy to doubt that it can happen. It's easy to doubt. We've all got fears that want to crowd in. And here's one of the worst ones of all, and that is to doubt yourself. Don't doubt your own ability. Don't doubt your own strength. If Mark can make it through some tough times, you can make it through. If I can make it, you can make it. If these people in the president's team can carve out an extraordinary story, second to none, in the business community of the world, I'm telling you, from these tables, this success can go right on back to the millionaire team and the Get team and to everybody up there, wherever you're sitting today. All of this belongs to all of you. Don't doubt that, not for a minute. Next is worry. I mean, you know, you got to worry some. But here's the clue: don't let it conquer you. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning and your daughter's not home, yes, you've got to worry. If you're in New York City and step off the curb and one of those yellow taxis is coming, yes, you better worry. But mark this down: let worry alarm you, but don't let it conquer you. We all need to be concerned. We all need to be concerned. If there's enemies around, we need to be concerned. If it isn't going well, yes, we need to be concerned. But I'm asking you to let it concern, let it touch you, let it alarm you, but don't let it conquer you. Take all of the worries you've got and try to drive them into the smallest corner you can possibly find. If you don't, worry will be like a mad dog loose in the house. It'll have you in the corner. So whatever your enemies are here, drive them into a small corner. Here's the next one: over caution. Hey, in the spring, if you're too cautious, you never will plant the seed. If you're too cautious, you won't take the chance. If you're too cautious, you won't step out front. If you're so cautious, you probably never would have done your first meeting. Make this note: you got to take a chance. Drive your tendency to be too cautious. Drive it into a small corner. Yes, you can't be gullible. No, you can't go for everything. Yes, you've got to be careful. Yes, but don't be so cautious that it paralyzes you. Don't be so cautious that it restricts your chance to do better. See if you can't conquer that. Here's the next one: pessimism. Yes, there's the dark side. Yes, there's the problem side. Yes, there's the difficult side. But I'm telling you, it's not the only side. Yes, the glass is half empty, but it's also half full. Yes, there's the dark side, but there's the light side. Yes, the night comes, but so does the day. I'm telling you, don't be afraid of both sides: opportunity and difficulty, chance and danger. Learn how to handle it all. Now here's the last one. When you get back home, you've got to deal with it. I have to deal with it. We all have to deal with it. And that's complaining. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint. Yes, there's room for a legitimate business complaint. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint with the 13th floor. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint with the warehouse. Yes, there's room for a legitimate complaint once in a while with each other. But here's what I'm asking you. Don't let complaining master your life. If you become a chronic complainer, I'm telling you, nobody wants to be around you. Chronic complainer. I wouldn't want you for a business partner. Don't let complaining conquer your life. See if you can't drive it into a small corner. That's the season of summer. Nourish your values like a mother and fight your enemies like a father. Even if you have to fight the enemies that are within yourself. Make this note. Don't become a victim of yourself. It's possible to become a victim of tragedy. It's possible to become a victim of gossip. It's possible to become a victim of the things that happen out there. But here's the most important thing. Don't become a victim of yourself. Forget the thief in the alley that's after your purse. What about the thief in your mind that's after your promise? The thief in your mind that says you're too short. The thief in your mind that says you're too tall. The thief in your mind that says, well, yes, it'll happen to people out in California, but it can't happen way over here on this side of the world. I'm asking you to conquer that thief even though you find him in your own consciousness. I want to reassure you that you can do it. I want you to reassure you that you can make the decisions. I want to reassure you that no matter what the night, no matter what the storm, no matter what the difficulty, there isn't anybody here that can't figure it out. Find some things to do, step at a time, yes. Minute at a time, yes. Day at a time, yes. Week at a time, yes. But there isn't anything you can't walk away from. There isn't any challenge you can't overcome. I want you to have that kind of belief in yourself. Here's the time to act. When the idea is hot and the emotion is strong. That's the time to act. You say, Mr. Rohn, I'd like to have a library like yours. See, if you feel strong about that, what you got to do is get the first book and then get the second book. Before the feeling passes and before the idea gets dim, action pronto, action immediate, action as soon as possible. Because if you don't, here's what happens. We call it the Law of Diminishing Intent. We intend to when the idea strikes us. We intend to when the emotion is high. But now if you don't translate that into action fairly soon, now the intent starts to diminish. And a month from now, it's cold. A year from now, can't be found. So act. Set up a discipline when the emotions are high and the idea is strong and clear and powerful. That's the time to set up the discipline. Somebody talks about good health and you're stirred. Say, right, I need to get a book on nutrition. Get the book before the idea passes and before the emotion gets cold. Go for the book. Start the library. Start the process. Fall on the floor. Do some push-ups. Action. Got to take action. Otherwise, the wisdom is wasted. Otherwise, the emotion soon passes. Unless you put it into a disciplined activity. Capture it. Disciplines is called how to capture the emotion and how to capture the wisdom and translate it into equity. Disciplines. Now, here's what's important about disciplines. All disciplines affect each other. In fact, here's a good philosophical phrase. Everything affects everything else. Nothing stands alone. Don't be naive in saying, well, this doesn't matter. I'm telling you, everything matters. There are some things that matter more than others, but there isn't anything that doesn't matter. We all pity the man who says, well, this is the only place I let down. Not true. Key to take home. Every letdown affects the rest of your performance. Every letdown affects the rest. This is part of the educational process on personal development. If you don't take the walk around the block, you probably won't do the apple a day. If you don't do the apple a day, you probably won't start building your library. If you don't build your library, you probably won't keep a journal, and you won't take pictures, and then you won't do this, you won't do wise things with your money, won't do wise things with your time, won't do wise things with your possibilities and relationships, and the first thing you know, 6 years of that accumulated, and we say you have messed up. So the whole key to reversing that process now is to start picking up these disciplines. Now here's the positive side. Every new discipline affects the rest of your disciplines. Every new one affects the rest. That's why action is so important. The least action, the smallest action. Take it. Because when you start accomplishing and the value starts to return from that one action, it'll inspire you to do the next one and the next one and the next one. You start walking around the block, it'll inspire you to get an apple. Get an apple, it'll inspire you to get a book. Get a book, it'll inspire you to get a journal. Get a journal, it'll inspire you to grow, develop some skills. All disciplines affect each other. Every lack affects the rest. Every new affects the rest. The key is to diminish the lack and set up the new. And you've started a whole new life process. Key. Also, one more thought on discipline. Here's the greatest value of discipline. Self-worth. Self-esteem. People are teaching self-esteem these days, but they don't connect it to disciplines. The least lack of discipline, and it starts to erode our psyche. One of the greatest temptations is to just ease up a little bit. Right? The slightest lack of doing your best starts to erode the psyche. Instead of doing your best, doing just a little less than your best. Sure enough, you say, well, it's just going to affect my sales. No, it's going to affect your consciousness. It's going to affect your philosophy. Now you've begun in the slightest way to affect your own philosophy. Here's the problem with the least neglect. Neglect starts as an infection, and if you don't take care of it, it becomes a disease. And the worst of all, when neglect starts, it diminishes our self-worth, our self-confidence, our self-value. You say, well, how can I get back my self-respect? I'm telling you, you don't have to go to 29 classes. All you have to do is start the smallest discipline that now corresponds to your own philosophy, like I should, and I could, and I will. No longer will I let neglect stack up on me so that I will have the sorry scenario 6 years from now, giving some excuse instead of celebrating my progress. That's the key to discipline. Okay? Let's get kids involved in the least of disciplines. One more, and then one more, and then another one, and then another one, and then some more. And the first thing you know, you're starting to weave the tapestry of a disciplined life into which you can pour more wisdom and more attitude and more strong feeling, more faith and more courage. Now you've got something, a vessel in which to put it. And now the equities start to flow. And the early return, I'm telling you, if you'll start this process, the early return will have you so excited. You'll commit yourself to this strategy for the rest of your life. You'll never go back to the old ways. Join a new crowd. Join a new group. The disciplines to do it. Take action. I recommended the last time I was here, the little book, Richest Man in Babylon, and I said I've lectured now to over 3 million people in the last 33 years, and I've recommended this little book to almost all of them, I think. Guess how many have actually gone and got this little book? Answer, very few. My best guess is 10%. Such an easy thing to do. In that last seminar, right, I suggested this little book, number one, is easy to find. Number two, it's easy to buy. The most you can pay for it, $6, $7, $8. You can borrow that from your kids. And number three, it's easy to read. It's in story form. That's why I use it for teenagers, teaching them how to be rich by 40, 35, if you're extra bright, much sooner, if you find a unique opportunity. But if it's easy to find and easy to buy, and if it's easy to read, why wouldn't everybody go get it? We don't know. What do you know? You don't know. I don't know. Nobody knows. Here's how profound it is. Some do and some don't. Now here's the numbers. About 10% do. 90% don't or won't. And we don't know the mystery of that. And I'm telling you, 10 years from now, those numbers will still be the same. 10% will, 90% won't. The numbers don't change. Only the faces change. You're looking at one of the faces. I used to belong to the 90% who couldn't be bothered even if it was easy. Guess how many people have a library card? Wisdom of the world available. Transform your life in any value amount you want. By the way, how much is a library card in Texas? Free. Here's what free is. Easy. I mean, it can't be any easier than free. Somebody says, well, would you bring it by? Well, no, at least you got to go get it. No. Wisdom of the world available. Transform your life spiritually, socially, personally, economically, and every other way. Teach you how to be rich and powerful and sophisticated and healthy, influential. How many people have a library card? Answer, 3%. 95, 97% couldn't be bothered. Guy specializes in happy hour, but he doesn't have a card. And now readily and quickly blames the government and blames his company and blames policy and blames the pay scale. When if he only knew, if he joined the 3%, here's my advice to you today. Walk away from the 97%. Don't talk like they talk. Don't act like they act. Don't go where they go. Don't specialize in what they specialize in. Throw away the blame lists they cling to. Start you a new life. You say, well, is it as simple as getting a library card and join the 3%? And the answer is, of course. Of course. That's how easy this stuff is. This is so easy. It's so simple. It's not complex. You don't need a 2,000-year-old guru. You don't need multi-track affirmations. I'm telling you, don't. Affirmation without discipline is the beginning of delusion. Key. Don't let somebody sweep you into some contrary way to nature itself says, unless you labor. The miracle of the seed and the soil and the seasons and God and all the other stuff that's available, sunshine and rain, that's not available to you by affirmation. It is only available to you by labor. So labor well. Okay. Learn well. Discipline yourself well. And you can have all the treasures you want. This stuff's easy and simple. It's not ocean waves and seagulls. You don't have to move to Sedona where all the force fields come together in Arizona. Let's teach our kids the simple ways to transform their health, number 1. Their economics, number 2. Their ability to communicate, number 3. Their life and treasure and lifestyle, number 4. Spirituality, number 5. And the list goes on and on. Let's not leave out any of the least of disciplines that encourage us to do the next one, to do the next one, to do the next one. First thing you know, this whole scenario for you is spinning up instead of out of control on the negative side. This is all you got to do. It's as simple as this. It's as simple as a start, committing yourself to life change. And once you start down this road, I promise you, you'll join the 10% and the 3%. Reasons come first, answers come second. You don't get the answers to do well till you get the reasons. Life has a mysterious way of hanging on to all the answers and only gives them up to the people that are inspired by reasons. So reasons make the difference in how your life works out. And so I'm asking you to study and practice the art of living a happy life. And start with your family. If you want a happy evening, you have to design it. It's not going to happen by accident. If you want a happy weekend, you've got to design it. You've got to fashion it. You've got to weave it like a tapestry with your own hands, your own ideas. Don't leave an evening to the winds. Don't leave a child's birthday to the winds. Don't leave a weekend that's important just to the winds. Let the winds blow. Fashion the day. Fashion the weekend. Fashion the evening. Engage in this kind of happy living called lifestyle. It's going to take some courage for some of you to settle your differences. It's going to take some courage for some of you to step out and lead the way. It's going to take courage for you to look inside and say, what do I need to correct within myself that'll make me a better person, a better leader, so that I can make my commitment and get the job done. Looking inside is a courageous act. One of the greatest steps towards success is self-confidence. And the greatest builder of self-confidence is self-esteem. Doing the things you know you should do so that at the end of the day you have this great satisfaction. The old prophet said, the sleep of a laboring man is sweet. Not the sleep of a goof-off man. Not the sleep of a joker. No. The sleep of one who labors. That's the sleep that's sweet. Sometimes you have to just stop for a while and think about what you might have available yourself to bring to your own future enterprise. We reach out for the products and they're there. We reach out for the marketing and it's there. The marketplace, it's there. Capital is ready to serve you. But now, how about you? Maybe you haven't thought lately about all of the power that you possess that's available, that you can bring to make your dreams come true. But I just wanted to remind you on this particular day of all that's available within yourself. First, you have the ability to see. What a power that is, to see things, to be able to use your mind, to comprehend, to see, to perceive. You have the ability to hear, to listen. The old phrase says that it's the listening that creates the faith. It's the listening that stimulates the imagination, that can see things that don't yet exist. It's the ability to hear testimonials and formulate in your own mind the possibilities of starting from nothing and developing something, starting, deep in the hole and working your way out and finally becoming successful. The ability to hear those testimonials, to hear good ideas. That now creates imagination. Imagination then has the ability to turn to faith. Faith is the ability not only to be able to perceive it and to see it, but the ability to believe that it's possible, that it can happen. The major value of reaching a goal is not to have the goal, but rather the person you have become to acquire it. The major value of reaching a goal is not to have the goal, but the person you have become to acquire it. Here's what I probably am right on, that you're behind on an accelerated effort toward your full development. I would suggest that. Now, for some of you, I know that's probably really not true. But even as I look at my own life, because, I'm tempted to procrastinate just like everybody else. I should have written 30 books by now. I've only written 4 or 5. I should have done a lot of things, but I haven't. I got distracted, and all of us, have these challenges. But what could I become? What could I become?
Now, here's what's exciting about lifestyle. As a subject of one of the major pieces of the life puzzle, all of us can choose, especially in this country, all of us can choose how we wish to live. Guess what you can get from your money? Joy or animosity? However you wish to live. A father takes a $10 bill and wads it up and throws it at his son and says, if you need the darn stuff that bad, take it. We call it money without style. The father's got the money, but he doesn't have the style. He studied economics, but he didn't study happiness. So let me give you the phrase. Happiness is an art, not an accident. Some people have figured out things economically, but they haven't figured out lifestyle to live well. Culture is a study. It's not an amount. Somebody says, if you have an amount of money, you'll be cultured. And the answer is no. Cultured is a study. Culture is a refinement of the mind. To be cultured, you must study culture and practice culture. Money doesn't solve the culture challenge. Money doesn't solve the happiness challenge. To be happy, you got to study and practice happiness.
And even from the simplest of lives. Better to live in a tent on the beach and be in love than to live in a mansion by yourself. One sentence seminar from my father. He said, always do more than you get paid for. Always do more than you get paid for to make an investment in your future. Good words. My father was unique. He was driving too fast one day on the highway. The officer stopped him and said, how come you're driving so fast? My father said, to get off the highway as quick as possible. My father said, when it's raining, you cannot fix the roof. When it isn't raining, it doesn't need to be fixed. Always be eager to learn, no matter how old you get. 75, I've got a lot more years of learning. The big part of my learning now, the rest of my life, is how to balance my life, right? Enough of this and enough of this, and not too much of this. I'm into energy management now as well as time management. Here's what's next. Your life is going to be greatly influenced by how you feel. We wanted to create not only the awareness of ideas and information at this 2-day, especially extravaganza, but inspiration to make it all work. Here's one of the most powerful combinations in the world: inspiration and ideas. Ideas invested with inspiration can create incredible reality.
Now here's another attitude. It's how you feel about each other. It's how you feel about society and the community and the country. It's very important. It's not that difficult to be a cynic. And cynicism greatly influences how your life works out. But it's also important to understand that if you want to do well, it takes all of us to help each of us. Good phrase. It takes all of us to help each of us do well.
All of you made your contribution. Part of it was your effort to get here. No effort like that is going to go unrewarded. The unseen hand that creates and spins and weaves everybody's life recognizes every effort. It says, if you sow, you shall reap. If you do good, you shall receive. If you touch people's lives, you will be rewarded. The next word I would ask you to consider is commitment. If all of us will commit to the dream, if we will commit to the opportunity, if we will commit to the chance to be the best in influencing our industry, the best in network marketing around the world, a commitment of developing leadership second to none, of putting together a team that can finish the job over the next few years, committed to the next 20 years, if all of us will make that personal commitment, I'm telling you, the collective commitment will be unbeatable. Time is more valuable than the money. You can get more money, but you can't get more time. These days that you've spent here as an investment in extravaganza, days you can never get back. Days that are taken away from the sum total of however many days you're going to have for your life on this spinning planet headed somewhere. So what an investment for all of us. The time, the money, the arrangements, sacrifice of family, but a worthwhile investment. There's more than one way to see. One way to see is with your eyes. The other way to see is with your mind. Seeing with your eyes we call sight. Seeing with your mind we call insight. Two of the most powerful words in the language, I will. Benjamin Disraeli once said, nothing can resist a human will. And if you'll use those two words a little more often this year, I will learn the disciplines. I will get better every day. I will make sure my presentation is the best. I will make the best of my opportunity. I will maximize my time. I will try to correct my errors in judgment better this year than last year. I will do a superb job. If you'll use that willpower, I'm telling you, the I will power that you have is unmatched. If you'll just use it. Sometimes we have a lot that we aren't using. It's like having a bank account and you never write a check. That would be a little strange. Take a new inventory of yourself. Starting tomorrow, new project. Take a new inventory. And make sure that all of your talent and ability and mentality and ingenuity and vitality and strong feelings, faith, courage, make sure that all you've got's being used. Otherwise, you lose. Major key to my future was not going to be changing all the things I thought needed to be changed, like the tax structure and the government structure and the price structure and circumstances. That all I had to do was to take all of that inevitably happens to all of us and make personal changes. That I could become the power. I could become the major factor in my future. And when I found out that that was possible, it was hard for me to sleep that first year. I got so excited that I finally discovered I could make a major change in my own life and that I could be the major factor in my destiny, my fortune, my future, my income, and all the rest. If you blame the government and you say, well, it's got to change before I can change, then that may be impossible. If you blame the economy, it's got to change before I can change, then who knows how long that'll take. And when I finally gave up that list of blaming all these other factors and said, hey, it's me, then I got very excited because me was something I could do something about. I couldn't do anything about the economy. How could I change the banking structure? How could I change circumstances that are inevitable for all of us? Couldn't do that. So if you wait for all of that to change, then some people wait forever and their life doesn't change very much. But if you understand that you are the major factor and there's something you can do about yourself, you can change your goals, you can change vocation, you can change location, you're not a tree, you're not stuck, you're not an animal driven by instinct in the genetic code. You have the ability to think, ponder, reason, gather ideas, and make major changes in your own personal life. Forget the thief in the alley that's after your purse. What about the thief in your mind that's after your promise? The thief in your mind that says you're too short. The thief in your mind that says you're too tall. The thief in your mind that says, well, yes, it'll happen to people out in California, but it can't happen way over here on this side of the world. I'm asking you to conquer that thief, even though you find him in your own consciousness. I want to reassure you that you can do it. I want you to reassure you that you can make the decisions. I want to reassure you that no matter what the night, no matter what the storm, no matter what the difficulty, there isn't anybody here that can't figure it out, find some things to do, step at a time, yes. Minute at a time, yes. Day at a time, yes. Week at a time, yes. But there isn't anything you can't walk away from. There isn't any challenge you can't overcome. I want you to have that kind of belief in yourself. I was standing in my backyard just the other day watching this remarkable little ant carrying a piece of food nearly twice its size. For 15 minutes, I stood there fascinated. That little ant never gave up, never looked around for an easier path, just kept moving forward, step by step. And it hit me, isn't that just the perfect picture of what success really looks like? Most people, they want success to be like a lightning bolt. One bright flash and suddenly everything changes. But that's not how it works. Never has been. Success is more like that ant, steady, determined, consistent. You see, I grew up on an Idaho farm. And let me tell you something about farming. You can't plant the seeds today and harvest tomorrow. Nature doesn't work that way, and neither does success. I remember my first job making minimum wage, $1.44 an hour. Now, some people would look at that and say, that's terrible. But you know what I did? I showed up every single day on time, ready to work. Rain or shine, good mood or bad, I was there. And here's the fascinating thing. Within a year, I wasn't making minimum wage anymore. Why? Because consistency creates value. Now here's something interesting about success that nobody talks about much. Success leaves clues just like failure does. And one of the biggest clues I've discovered over the years is that successful people are boring people. Yes, you heard that right. Boring. They do the same important things day after day after day. They read their books, they make their calls, they keep their commitments, they show up early. Nothing flashy, nothing exciting, just consistent, reliable action. You see, most people overestimate what they can do in a day, and they drastically underestimate what they can accomplish in a year of consistent effort. They're looking for the magic formula, the secret shortcut. But success isn't about shortcuts. It's about the long cut. It's about doing the right things day after day, even when nobody's watching, even when you don't feel like it. I had a friend once who told me he wanted to write a book. I asked him, how many pages have you written this week? He said, well, none, but I'm going to get started soon. A year later, same conversation. 5 years later, still no book. You know why? Because he was waiting for inspiration to strike, waiting for the perfect moment. But success doesn't wait for perfect moments. It creates them through consistent action. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. The incredible power of consistency. Because success isn't about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well, day after day after day, just like that ant in my backyard. It's about keeping your eyes on your goal and taking one step at a time, regardless of the obstacles in your path. And speaking of obstacles, let me tell you something important about the journey to success. It's not the big challenges that usually stop people. It's the small, daily decisions that determine your destiny. You know what I mean? It's not the big, dramatic moments that make or break your success. It's what you do every single day in those quiet moments when nobody's watching. Think about it like building a house. Nobody in their right mind would try to build a house without first laying a solid foundation. Yet I see people every day trying to build success on wishful thinking and good intentions. That's like trying to build a mansion on quicksand. It just won't stand. The foundation of success is made up of 4 cornerstones, and I want you to write these down because they're absolutely crucial. First, you've got personal development. I always say, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for fewer problems, wish for more skills. Why? Because success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by the person you become. I remember when I was struggling in my early days, I was broke, discouraged, and looking for answers. Then someone gave me this vital piece of wisdom. They said, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. That changed everything for me. You see, your income rarely exceeds your personal development. I know some people don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. The second cornerstone is your philosophy. Your personal philosophy is the way you think about life, about challenges, about opportunities. Some people have a philosophy of blame. They blame the economy, they blame the weather, they blame their boss, they blame their spouse. But successful people, they have a philosophy of responsibility. They say, if it's going to be, it's up to me. Let me tell you a story about 2 salespeople who went to the same town to sell shoes. The first one called back and said, I'm coming home. Nobody here wears shoes. The second one called and said, send me all the shoes you've got. Nobody here has shoes yet. Same circumstance, different philosophy, totally different results. The third cornerstone is your habits. Now, this is where the rubber meets the road. Habits are those little actions that seem insignificant in the moment, but compound over time to create your destiny. Good habits are hard to form, but easy to live with. Bad habits are easy to form, but hard to live with. The key is to make the simple disciplines a way of life. You know what I do every morning? I spend the first hour reading something valuable, something that will contribute to my growth. Been doing it for over 4 decades now. Some people say, well, that doesn't sound like much. But let me ask you this. What happens if you read just 30 minutes every day for 30 years? You'll be in the top 1 of educated people in your field. That's the power of consistent habits. And the 4th cornerstone, this one's crucial, is your attitude toward time. Time is the great equalizer. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. The difference is what we do with that time. Poor people spend their time. Middle-class people manage their time. But successful people invest their time. Here's something fascinating about time. You can't save it. You can only spend it or invest it. And the best investment you can make is in yourself. Every day, you're either preparing or repairing. You're either getting ready for opportunities or getting ready for repairs. I used to waste so much time early in my career until one day someone asked me a question that changed my life. They said, how many books have you read in the last 90 days? And I had to answer, none. They said, well, then you haven't changed much in the last 90 days, have you? That hit me right between the eyes. Because you see, everything in your life changes the day you start investing in your mind, in your future, in your potential. And that's what building a solid foundation is all about. It's about making those daily investments in yourself, in your knowledge, in your skills, in your character.
Because here's what I've learned after all these years. Success is not an accident. Success is a choice. And that choice begins with building a foundation strong enough to support all your dreams and ambitions. Now let me share with you something crucial about these daily investments in yourself. These daily disciplines, they're like scaffolding for your dreams. Most people miss the connection between their daily actions and their future success. They're looking for some magical moment when everything will suddenly change. But that's not how life works. Let me tell you about something that happened at my local grocery store. I was standing in line, and this lady in front of me was buying a lottery ticket. She turned to me and said, "This is my retirement plan." Now, isn't that interesting? She was willing to trust her entire future to random chance, when the real power of success is in what you do every single day. You know what fascinates me about discipline? It's like compound interest for your life. Small, seemingly insignificant actions, repeated day after day, create massive results over time. It's just like putting a few dollars away each day. At first, it doesn't seem like much, but give it time, and those small deposits turn into a fortune. Let me give you a perfect example. I know a gentleman who decided to write just one page every day. Just one page, that's not much, is it? But do you know what happens when you write one page every day for a year? You've got a 365-page book. Most people won't write one page today because they can't write an entire book today. They don't understand the power of daily disciplines. Here's something else about discipline that most people don't understand. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. I remember when I first started my self-development journey, I set out to read for an hour every day. Did I make it every single day? No. I didn't let missing one day turn into missing a week. I got right back on track the next day. And that's where most people go wrong. They think if they can't do something perfectly, they shouldn't do it at all. But success doesn't require perfection. It requires persistence. It's better to do something imperfectly than to do nothing flawlessly. Let me share with you what I call the 5 major pieces of the daily discipline puzzle. First, there's your morning routine. How you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. I start every morning with reading, reflection, and planning. It's not complicated, but it's powerful. Second, there's your health disciplines. You've got to take care of the goose that lays the golden eggs. That means proper nutrition, regular exercise, adequate rest. Your body is the only place you have to live. Take good care of it. Third, there's your learning discipline. The world belongs to the learners. Every day you should know more than you knew yesterday, whether it's through reading, listening to audio programs, or attending seminars. Make learning a daily priority. Fourth, there's your work discipline. Show up early, stay late when necessary, go the extra mile. Success is not about doing the extraordinary, it's about doing the ordinary things extraordinarily well. And fifth, there's your personal development discipline. Work on your character, your integrity, your values. Because here's what's interesting, your income rarely exceeds your personal development. If you want more, now here's something fascinating about these daily disciplines. They work whether you believe in them or not. Just like gravity, these principles are always in effect. You don't have to believe in gravity for it to keep you on the ground. And you don't have to believe in these principles for them to work in your life. But here's the challenge, and this is important. The things that are easy to do are also easy not to do. It's easy to read 10 pages of a good book today. It's also easy not to. It's easy to make a few extra calls today. It's also easy not to. It's easy to save a few dollars today. It's also easy not to. And that's what makes the difference between success and mediocrity, the daily choices we make. The choices that seem insignificant in the moment but compound over time to create our destiny. And speaking of time, let me share something crucial about how successful people think about time and seasons. Life is not just about understanding what to do. It's about understanding when to do it. Everything in life has its season, just like in nature. You can't plant in the fall and harvest in the spring. That's not how it works. I learned this lesson years ago watching my father work our family farm. He understood something profound that most people miss. There's a time to plant and a time to harvest, and you can't rush the seasons. You can't negotiate with them, you can't skip them, and you certainly can't ignore them. Here's what's fascinating about time. We all have the same amount. Rich or poor, young or old. We all get 24 hours each day. The difference is in how we use those hours. Some people are planning in their 24 hours while others are spending their 24 hours. Some are investing while others are wasting. Let me tell you something that changed my life when I first understood it. There are 3 ways to look at time. First, there's clock time. That's what shows up on your watch. Then there's calendar time. That's what shows up on your schedule. But most importantly, there's opportunity time. That's what shows up in your life as chances for growth and progress. You know what most people do? They wait for the right time to start. They say, I'll start my business when the economy gets better, or I will start saving when I make more money. Or my favorite, I will start reading when I have more time. But here's the truth. The right time never arrives. You have to create it. I remember talking to a young man who told me he was waiting for his ship to come in. I asked him, have you sent any out? That's the key. You've got to understand the seasons of preparation and action. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is today. Most people don't understand. Every season has its own reward. Winter isn't just about cold and darkness. It's about preparation and planning. Spring isn't just about planning. It's about possibility and potential. Summer isn't just about growth. It's about nurturing and protecting. And fall isn't just about harvest. It's about gathering and gratitude. You got to learn to work with these seasons, not against them. When it's time to plant, plant. When it's time to water, water. When it's time to weed, weed. And when it's time to harvest, harvest. Don't confuse the seasons and don't try to shortcut the process. What's interesting about success? It's rarely a matter of timing the market. It's almost always a matter of time in the market. It's not about waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about making progress in spite of imperfect conditions. And that brings me to something crucial about success that most people completely misunderstand. The price you have to pay. Everybody has to pay it. The only question is when. You can pay now and enjoy later, or you can enjoy now and pay later. But the bill always comes due. That's one of life's great certainties. You know what's interesting about excellence? It's never on sale. The price is the price. And here's what I've discovered after all these years. Most people want to negotiate the price of success. They want to get it wholesale. They say, can I get twice the success for half the effort? But it doesn't work that way. Let me tell you about my early days in business. I was working hard, or yes, I thought I was. Then my mentor asked me a question that changed everything. He said, how many books did you read last year? I said 2 or 3. He said, that's the problem. The man who reads 1 good book a month is living in a different world than the man who reads 1 or 2 a year. See, most people don't want to pay the price of education, of self-development, of discipline. They want success, but they don't want to pay what it costs. It's like going to a restaurant and saying, I'd like the filet mignon, but I'd like to pay hamburger prices. It just doesn't work that way. What excellence costs? It costs time when others are watching TV. It costs study when others are sleeping. It costs practice when others are playing. It costs persistence when others are quitting. And here's the fascinating thing. The price never goes down. But if you pay it long enough, consistently enough, the value of what you receive will far outweigh the price you paid. I remember meeting a successful businessman who told me something profound. He said, I work 8 hours a day for survival and 4 hours a day for success. Now, isn't that interesting? Most people work just enough to survive. But excellence demands the extra effort, that additional investment of time and energy. Average is easy. Average comes naturally. Excellence is a conscious choice. You've got to choose it every single day. And here's what most people don't understand about excellence. It's not about doing extraordinary things. It's about doing ordinary things extraordinarily well. Let me give you an example. 2 salespeople make 10 calls each. The average one just makes the calls. The excellent one prepares for each call, researches each prospect, follows up after each conversation. Same number of calls, totally different results. Why? Because excellence is in the detail. Success is not a pay-as-you-go system. You don't get to experience the rewards until after you've invested the effort. It's like planting a garden. You don't get to eat the harvest the day after you plant the seeds. But here's the good news about paying the price of excellence. Once you've paid it, nobody can take it away from you. What you learn, what you become, what you achieve through consistent effort, that's yours forever. They can't tax it, they can't steal it, and they can't diminish it. Excellence, it's not just about what you do, it's about who you become in the process. It's about building your character. Your character is like the foundation of a building. You can't build a tall building on a weak foundation, and you can't build lasting success on weak character. That's just the way life works. You know what amazes me? People spend years learning their trade, but they spend minutes working on their character. They know everything about their business, but very little about themselves. And then they wonder why their success doesn't last. Let me tell you about something that happened to me years ago. I was complaining about my circumstances, and someone wiser than me said, the only your circumstances will change is if you change. That hit me right between the eyes. Because you see, your character is not something you're born with. It's something you build, decision by decision, day by day. What's fascinating about character? It's revealed in the small moments when nobody's watching. It's choosing to do the right thing, even when the wrong thing is easier. It's keeping your word, even when it costs you. It's showing up early, even when nobody would notice if you're late. I remember talking to a young entrepreneur who was frustrated with his business results. He said, "I'm doing everything right, but nothing's working." So I asked him, "Are you being truthful in all your dealings? Are you following through on every promise? Are you giving value first before expecting returns?" He got very quiet. Success is not just about strategies and tactics. It's about who you are as a person. Most people don't understand about character. It's built through adversity, not comfort. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to strengthen your character. Every problem is a chance to prove your integrity. Every setback is a setup for a stronger comeback. You know what I've noticed over the years? People with strong character don't have an easier life. They just handle life's difficulties better. They don't have fewer problems, they have better solutions. They don't have less stress. They have more strength. Your character is like a muscle. It gets stronger not through comfort, but through resistance. Every time you choose the hard right over the easy wrong, you're building character. Every time you keep a commitment, even when it's inconvenient, you're building character. Every time you tell the truth when a lie would be easier, you're building character. And here's what's interesting about character. It's the one thing you can't fake. You can fake enthusiasm, you can fake knowledge, you can even fake success for a while, but you can't fake character. It shows up in everything you do, everything you say, everything you are. That's why I always say, work harder on yourself than you do on your job, because your job will never pay you more than your character can handle. Your success will never outgrow your personal development. Your achievements will never exceed your character. And speaking of growth and development, let me share with you something fascinating about how small, consistent actions compound over time. And this might be one of the most powerful secrets of success I've ever discovered. Most people completely misunderstand how success works. They're looking for the big break, the lucky break, the overnight success. But that's not how it happened. Let me tell you a story that illustrates this perfectly. If I offered you a choice between taking $3 million cash right now or a single penny that doubles in value every day for 31 days, which would you choose? Most people would grab the $3 million R, but they'd be making a mistake because that penny, doubled every day for 31 days, turns into more than $10 million. That's the power of compound effect. Success works the same way. Small, consistent actions compounded over time create extraordinary results. But here's the challenge. You can't see the results in the beginning. Just like that penny doesn't look like much on day 5 or day 10, your daily disciplines might not seem significant in the moment. I remember when I started my reading habit. 1 page a day, doesn't sound like much, does it? But 1 page a day becomes 365 pages a year. That's a book. And 1 book can change your life. I know because 1 book changed mine. But most people won't read 1 page a day because they can't read an entire book today. Here's what's fascinating about consistency. It's like gravity. It works whether you believe in it or not. You don't have to believe in gravity to be held on the ground. And you don't have to believe in the compound effect for it to work in your life. You just have to be consistent. Think about water dripping on a rock. 1 drop doesn't do much. 100 drops don't do much. But water dripping consistently day after day, year after year, can cut through solid rock. That's what consistency does in your life. It cuts through any obstacle, any challenge, any barrier. It works both ways. Just like small positive actions compound into success, small negative actions compound into failure. Missing 1 workout won't make you out of shape, just like doing 1 workout won't make you fit. It's the consistent pattern that matters. That's why the little things are the big things. Because life isn't made of big moments. It's made of small moments strung together. And what you do consistently in those small moments determines where you'll end up. But of course, staying consistent isn't always easy. There will be obstacles along the way. And that's exactly what I want to talk about next. Obstacles. They're not there to stop you. They're there to test you. They're not there to block your path. They're there to show you how badly you want what's on the other side. You know, I used to think successful people had fewer problems than everybody else, but I was wrong. They don't have fewer problems. They just have bigger problems. And that's good news because your problems are actually a sign of your growth. The size of your problem determines the size of your opportunities. Let me tell you about a friend of mine who started a business. His first obstacle was lack of capital. Then it was finding customers. Then it was managing growth. Notice something interesting? His problems kept getting bigger, but so did his success. That's how it works. New levels, new devils. Here's what most people do when they hit an obstacle. They retreat to their comfort zone. But comfort zones are interesting places. They're comfortable, but nothing ever grows there. It's like a thermostat set to 72 degrees. It will keep you comfortable, but it'll never make you successful. I remember when I first started public speaking. My hands would shake, my voice would quiver, my knees would knock. Every fiber of my being wanted to quit. But here's what I learned. The obstacle isn't the enemy. The obstacle is the way. Every time I pushed through that fear, I got stronger. Every time I faced that challenge, I grew. Obstacles, eh? They reveal what you're made of. Anyone can stay positive when everything's going well. Anyone can keep going when the path is smooth. It's what you do when things get tough that shows your true character. You see, most people ask, why is this happening to me? But successful people ask, what is this teaching me? They understand that every obstacle comes with a lesson. Every challenge comes with a gift. Every setback comes with an opportunity. Let me share something powerful with you. The size of your success will be determined by the size of the obstacles you're willing to overcome. If you only want to tackle small obstacles, you'll only achieve small success. But if you're willing to face big obstacles, you'll achieve big success. And here's the fascinating thing about obstacles. They don't care about your feelings. They don't care if you're tired, if you're scared, if you're not ready. They show up when they show up. The only question is, what are you going to do about them? Because ultimately, that's what success comes down to. It's not about avoiding obstacles. It's about becoming the kind of person who can overcome any obstacle. And that brings me to my final point.
When one person talks to another, there's a unique thing called transformation takes place. The transformation of the people who speak. If I struggle to make it clear for you, I make it more clear for myself. If I work hard to help you to see, that helps me to see. Maybe something I never saw before. Sometimes we use language that surprises us. A phrase appears in our head, an idea, a way to say it that we've never said it before. That's the inspiration of sight that comes from helping other people to see, transforms us so that we can see. And transformation is part of the unique life process. The caterpillar that crawls on the ground for a share of his life, one day says, surely I was designed for something better than just crawling on the ground. So one day, driven by instinct and the genetic code, he climbs the tree, out on the limb, finds the right leaf, attaches himself to the leaf, and with great effort spins the cocoon. And when the cocoon is finished and the time has finally come, with great effort, this creature that crawled on the ground for a part of his life now breaks open the cocoon, and with great effort struggles to set himself free. And once he's free, he now has wings. And when the wings are dry and the time has come, this creature that used to crawl on the ground now says, I think I can fly. I think I can touch the sky.